War is a machine built to grind men into dust, yet sometimes, just sometimes, something steps between the gears. Tonight we follow 5 World War II service members who insist they were saved by hands no longer living. Leipzig, call sign Big Blast. More than 400 bombers rise into a moonless sky. In Lancaster Q Queen, pilot officer Ron Kershaw is short one man. His navigator, Flight Sergeant David Dixie Dixon, killed 2 nights earlier by flak over Berlin. Over the North Sea, the G-set fizzles and Q Queen becomes a blind leviathan drifting toward enemy searchlights. The crew curse, preparing to abort when a calm drawl crackles through the intercom. "Ron, you're 30 seconds north of track. Turn port 3 degrees, drop to 12,000. Kershaw freezes. It is Dixon's voice, flat, unmistakable Midlands vowels. Hypnotized, he obeys. A cone of searchlights spears the darkness where they would have been, and a flak box erupts, shredding empty night. The disembodied voice keeps guiding them, threading pockets of fire, dodging night fighters, and finally steering them home on fumes. When ground crew board the bomber, the navigator's seatbelt hangs neatly latched, as if someone occupied it for the full 6-hour flight. Kershaw's statement, now declassified, records every ghost-given heading. Radar plots confirm the spirit course slipped through gaps unknown to the crew. Psychologists call it collective hallucination, but 6 men reached VE Day because a dead navigator found his way one last time. For 4 brutal months, the Allies battered the slopes of Monte Cassino. Private Frank Lombardo of the 34th Infantry Division lay bleeding in a shell scrape after a failed assault. As consciousness slipped, a figure in a spotless white habit knelt beside him, an Italian nun, face gently luminous. She pressed a cool hand to his forehead, whispered, "Figlio mio, non aver paura, my son, do not fear," and pointed toward a collapsed archway. Pain forgotten, Lombardo crawled through the gap and tumbled into a crypt where medics treated casualties by lamplight. Moments later, an 88 mm shell vaporized the slope where he had lain. When the medics returned for the nun, she was gone. The Abbey's sisters had evacuated weeks earlier. Medics logged Lombardo at 2:43. The shell struck at 2:45. Local monks spoke of a 16th century abbess who vowed to protect the wounded beneath Cassino's walls. Whether saint or specter, a soldier walked out of Italy alive, a white handprint scorched into his dirt-stained jacket. Night actions off Guadalcanal pushed sailors to the brink. In mid-September, the destroyer USS O'Bannon escorted landing ships when radar picked up 2 bogies hiding among the islands. General quarters sounded. Seaman Joey Reyes manned the port Bofors and caught movement atop the breach. A lean figure in pre-war blues, one collar stitch missing. The visitor saluted and pointed abeam starboard. Reyes swung his director just as 2 torpedo wakes sliced harmlessly alongside. Lookouts confirmed a Japanese long-lance submarine had broached, fired, and crash-dived. The mysterious sailor vanished. Crew folklore already spoke of Old Salty, lost when a hatch blew during trials in '42. Dress blues, collar stitch torn by the blast. Skeptics say moonlit spray played tricks, but sonar showed both torpedoes passed within 15 feet. A heartbeat of course deviation saved 300 lives. On Pacific nights that whisper with diesel and tide, sailors swear a lone guard still paces the O'Bannon's deck. Convoy PQ-18 crawled through the Arctic's corridor of death, stalked by U-boats and the Luftwaffe. Aboard SS Fort James, radio officer Alice Munro, the rare woman on the run, tapped Morse with numb fingers when a faint SOS arrived in obsolete 1914 Royal Navy code. Icefall, call sign of HMS Glorious, sunk 2 years earlier. The phantom signal repeated, "Break starboard now!" Munro sprinted to the bridge. Captain Haig trusted her instincts and ordered a 5-degree starboard turn despite protests about pack ice. 30 seconds later, a magnetic mine planted by U-625 detonated where their keel would have been. The explosion's plume lit empty sea, no sign of Glorious. Seabed sonar later found wreckage believed to be the battlecruiser's detached mast, drifted hundreds of miles and eerily aligned with the convoy's new heading. Admiralty memos credit Munro's radio anomaly for averting disaster. Her log sheet records the exact code groups Glorious used the day she sank. How a lost ship crushed beneath Norwegian waves. Key to warning 2 years later remains an Arctic mystery. But 48 merchant mariners reached Murmansk alive because a ghostly signal leapt across frozen ether. The final, fiercest night of the Blitz set London ablaze. East End firewatcher Grace Patel patrolled rooftops, eyes raw from smoke. As she climbed a ladder to douse incendiaries, the roof beams groaned, ready to collapse. A tall, dark silhouette appeared beside her, gently but firmly dragging her back down. Seconds later, the roof caved in, a fireball spitting skyward. When she turned to thank her rescuer, the alley was empty. Days later, Patel visited the local civil defense post and recognized the silhouette on the memorial board. Harold Evans, a warden killed 6 months earlier while shielding children from shrapnel. Civil defense dismissed talk of apparitions, but Patel's report listed a witness who could not sign it. At her feet, she had found a scorched warden's helmet badge, serial number matching Evans's. One life was plucked from London's burning jaws by a man already numbered among its dead. 5 theaters, 5 moments when tomorrow hinged on impossible aid. Medical journals call it crisis hallucination. Theologians speak of guardian spirits. Veterans simply lower their voices and say, "Something was there." Consider the geometry: a bomber's sudden turn, a soldier's 90-second crawl, a destroyer's twitch of a gun director, a wireless officer's instinct, a firewatcher's pulled sleeve. Change any angle and entire family trees vanish from history. Perhaps the dead linger where duty feels unfinished. Or perhaps the living, squeezed between oblivion and dawn, hear echoes across a veil thinner than fear. Do you believe these tales of spectral salvation, or do you file them under battlefield myth? Tell us which encounter chilled you most, and subscribe for more of history's hidden tales. If you or a loved one served and have a story of impossible rescue, our inbox and our hearts are open.